All right, traders, welcome to today's market recap. This is Christian from Hertz Tribeca Trade Group, and the risk disclaimer is in front of you. Everything that we're going through here is for information purposes only, not giving out any advice or recommendations. Everything that we're going through here is for information purposes only. If the video is a little bit blurry, just wait a little bit because YouTube does take a little while to render their high def version of the video, so just take a little bit of time for that to render. The market today, just really quickly, when you look at the S&P as well as the Nasdaq, not much going on here in terms of range, a bit choppy action, but overall, there's continuing to be some momentum, especially like in I think some of the areas that a lot of traders are a little bit more focused in on, a lot of bit more momentum names, a lot of more growth names are continuing to outperform for now. So today is Wednesday, and a couple other thoughts before we kind of get into the nitty gritty of the price action and some of my focus names and some of the observations from sector performers for the day. But this has been a pretty nice week, and I think a lot of traders are, just from what I'm kind of getting on Twitter in terms of the sentiment on Twitter, which I think is stronger. You just have to kind of remember how this works as a trader. If this is your first year trading or your second year trading, and you're looking to do this for a long time, one of the things that one of the frequently asked questions that I get from newer traders is, hey, I just want to make a certain amount every day. Can I do that in the market if I want to trade full time, or do this a little bit more than part time? Well, the way it kind of works, if you look at this week, which I think many traders, maybe not all traders, but many traders have had a pretty good week, and maybe have hit some nice trades this week. But you have to remember, this is how sometimes P&L works, right? Sometimes in terms of profit and loss, it comes in bunches, in terms of trading, from my experience, right? In terms of how I trade the market, and I'm more of, I guess you would refer, momentum trader, trend trader, and sometimes that P&L, the profits come in bunches. So you just kind of have to be prepared for that, right? And what you try to do when you cannot find that many opportunities, is really to kind of dial back on risk, and also not to give back a lot. When we had things like last week, when you had a really whippy type market, and where things look good, and I had a lot of trades last week that I entered into last week, and they looked good from a technical short-term perspective, and a couple of them I got stopped out on. So you kind of have to make sure that your confidence stays intact in those situations, and just realize that this game trading, it's not even, right? It doesn't come this way. So I myself am enjoying a really nice week, and I just kind of realized that while this is going on, you really try to capitalize on some of the setups, and work those names as best as possible to capture the most profit, and kind of go from there, and then just kind of continue to monitor, and realize what kind of environment we're in. All right, so that said, we'll look at, here's my theme of the day: pockets of momentum out there. Overall, breadth not stellar. So, I showed the market performance, and if we look under the hood, it's getting to be a little bit concerning that we're just not getting very strong breadth. Now, Nasdaq was a bit stronger today, 1,600. Over 1,600 advancers versus 1,200 decliners, but the S&P and the Dow continue to see weaker breadth. So, that's a little bit troubling, because we're starting to see that divergence come up in the S&P, which is a little bit of a warning sign under the hood. Again, we use like a whole bunch of different pieces of the puzzle, but I would be a little bit concerned that breadth right now is a little bit weak. So what's the takeaway for me for that when I'm managing trades is I want to be selling a little bit more into weaker breadth, right? That's something that we talked about in the TTG pre-market session. I said that I would be a net seller today, and that's always it's always important, in my opinion, to set the plan of what you're trying to do for the day when the market is closed, right? And then, once all the crazy prices are moving around and you've got momentum in the market, you can kind of remember at some point what your goal for the day was, and then circle back to that. So so I'll go over my trades and just how I kind of executed the day. But yeah, you could look, in terms of percentage change versus the open, which is what I like to concentrate a lot on to see where the strength is over the session of the day. Not much going on there. The small caps were the strongest, but they gave back a little bit at the end of the day. Actually, the micro caps were the strongest for the day. They were up almost 0.75%. Bonds, non-factor, gold, silver, not much going on there. Same thing with the VIX. Very little movement in the VIX today. Where are we now? 1632. But if you want to look at the chart of the VIX, remember we talked about this a couple days ago. It seems like for now, every time that we've been getting a little bit of an episode or bout of volatility, it's not making new highs, right? It's been lower highs. I view that as a positive, right? Lower high, lower high, lower high, lower high, lower high. Well, I shouldn't say lower high here. We got a little bit of a move back, but you can kind of see the pattern, right? Since obviously we had this back there, right? So that's my quick thoughts on the VIX. I'll just do a quick 30 seconds here on the S&P. Clearly we're we're right at those. We're right in the grind mode again, right? After last week's quadruple witching, big move down, recovery, but no real break higher. And you could see, the resistance to watch for the rest of the week, right? This value area is just for this week is right around that 42.50, right? 42.50 and a half. So that's the barrier for the week. Don't forget we have another big rebalance coming on Friday. That's the Russell rebalance. So again, if you were caught off guard because there was a lot of volatility last Friday, it'll be different. I don't think you'll see the same type of thing. I think the S&P and Nasdaq rebalances are a little bit larger, from my understanding, than the Russell rebalance. Remember, it's not just the Russell small caps; they also manage large caps indices too. So there's quite a bit of assets that follow those too. But I don't think it's as big as the S&P rebalance. That said, there will be volatility, right? Or there should be. I would expect some volatility, especially in those individual names. All right, so that's kind of just thoughts as we're done with. We're more than halfway through the week, and we've got 2 trading days left, and we've got some resistance in front of us. Again, it seems like it's just been very tough for the S&P to move higher. Nasdaq is a different picture, right? We're kind of consolidating right around the breakout zone, right? This is Nasdaq futures that I'm looking at. They continue to grind higher and make new highs, right? So it has been very strong for this index, even though the breadth isn't commanding, right? And that was something that we talked about again pre-market, right? If we look at right the McClellan Summation Index right now is in a bearish cross. So again, just something to be mindful about how you're taking, how much risk, in my opinion, you're taking here with as breadth goes a little bit weaker, right? I do look at the whole picture, and then of course I drill down to individual names. So what were the outperformers for the day? Clean energy names, right? And as well as the ARK Innovation ETF. Things like Tesla really got going today. Finally, Tesla broke this value area. It was kind of grinding higher and resolved. I'll tell you, I was a little bit concerned that this Tesla might break down here, but this is the first move back above the 50-day moving average, since where it was in April. So also kind of interesting is that these moving averages, the shorter term moving averages, came in close proximity to the 200-day moving average, but 636 is the level of support now that has broken out of this month's value area. Again, the value area is based on volume at price, right, from the previous period. So you could see this volume profile, right? So this is our proprietary indicator at Tribeca Trade Group. Excellent for support and resistance levels. So next level up, you got 732 for Tesla. Well, sorry, I shouldn't say that. 670 will be the next 1 hour VPOC. And then if price can get above that, it looks like 700. That's 703. yeah, and 732. So that's some upside levels that you are going to be confronted with a little bit of overhead supply. Possibly some sellers or some high volume nodes as virgin point of controls, where you might see that come into play. So this is the biggest weighting in the ARK ETF. Speaking of virgin point of controls, there was one that was taken out here. That's right up here, from this period. So virgin point of control taken out, and we'll see how this ARK ETF manages that virgin point of control takeout. All right. Someone was asking me about a chart. So if you're not familiar with this, I'll spend maybe a minute or two here. Someone asked me for a chart request today in this SM. Right. Here's a good example, right, of how sometimes virgin point of controls work. Look at the past, right? So if you look at, again, these are lines that I'm not drawing. This is based on volume at price. So this is our indicator, and look at how this tagged that. So I can't think of a better situation where you can kind of plan out your exits. Look at this virgin point of control, almost to like the penny. A couple of these things were taken out. Now notice how that there was 3 together bunched in back over here, and the price action was actually handled those virgin point of control takeouts pretty well. When 3 are together, sometimes price action can just take them all out, right? And then notice what happened. Still, I think pretty decent. Just digestion after those virgin point of controls being taken out. So again, I just bring up this chart for no other reason than just to kind of give you a visualization of how virgin point of controls can really work, right? I mean, there is memory in the market. All right, so let's. So I mentioned Tesla. Certainly a couple other charts that were of interest. And by the way, the retail sector. I mentioned retail yesterday. Second day of outperformance for the retail sector. Right, that's an XRT ETF. Right, we talked yesterday about things like Costco. Notice this whole group is moving out higher. Right. So it very close to a breakout here, right? Costco, I managed to take another target in Costco today, right around the highs of the session, and another name that we talked about yesterday, which did very well today, was Deckers, right? Up another 1%, so has been very strong, very close to breaking out. That Deckers. A couple other names that have been interesting: AEO, American Eagle, as well as Abercrombie, which is, these names are close to breaking out. Wait for this chart to come up here. Well, Thinkorswim doesn't want to bring it up, so we'll move on. So yeah, in terms of my trades and some of the things that I talked about yesterday, that's really weird. Doesn't want to bring up that chart. Futu had some nice continuation, right? We talked about, just basic charting here. A nice move out of consolidation yesterday, and there you go, continuation to the upside. So that worked very well for me in terms of, how I set this trade up. I view Futu as, this is a name with high volatility, right? It moves a lot faster than normal. So, a lot faster than a lot of names, I should say. So I put on a $10 wide call spread. Was able to take the first target in that 350, 220. That's a nice percentage gainer. Square was another trade that I talked about yesterday, how the chart was looking good. It did not close on the highs. That's why you take targets, right? So nice healthy target that I took in that. And then I began to kind of day trade a little bit. Whenever the Hang Seng is strong in the overnight session and the Shanghai, I generally look to see what's going on in China names. Scalp some Alibaba today. Again, very quick with that name. But I did see some calls on the tape, and I just thought the risk to reward scenario was pretty good. DMTK, this was a name that we talked about towards the end of last week. I got my first target in this one. Whoops, this is... I typed in the wrong symbol. User error. Also trying to come out of consolidation. Didn't close on the highs, but again, I was able to take my first target in this trade. Upstart, that was another, I did quite a bit of day trading a little bit here this morning. All right, just a lot of things kind of triggered for me. When you look at the 1 hour chart, 128 could be a level that this rallies to in the short term, and then we'll kind of see what it does at that 128 level. Roadblocks is another name just to kind of keep in mind. Again, the 1 hour chart, a little bit tough. You're going to have some resistance there up at 86, which is about a couple bucks up. But I like where this thing stopped and found support. Right at the previous breakout point. Also, right at the it's now back above value for the month. Right, so you could use an 83 stop. Snap was another big name today. Right, finally kind of got over this. I traded this one last week. I actually put this in the TTG Trend Portfolio, right, which is our trend, portfolio of 30 names, right? That's not in my trading account. It's for my more, I don't want to call it a long-term trading account because I do manage it quite often. But did throw this in there today, looking for this thing to kind of now resolve itself higher. Again, gave a little bit of a fake out and then, settled back in and push out to new highs. Notice this thing hit this speed bump here, R1, which is an extension away from the value area. But overall, I think the chart looks pretty good. Another one, Twitter too, right? This one hit my upside target. I did exit this one today. We'll see how it goes for Twitter, but right up to that version point. Speaking of version point of control, out at that one. I added this trade in. I think in here, right? So yeah. Paid 61 for this just the other day. I think that was on Monday, I want to say. All right, and there's a couple other trades too. KKR worked really well. All right, got my first target in this one. Cintas, I decided to exit this one. I think it can keep going. But again, I'm kind of in the mode, as I mentioned in the beginning of this video, planning out what I'm doing in terms of my overall portfolio. So I wanted to make sure I was a net seller today. Right, and took off a bit more positions into strength, right? Run was another one too, right? That completely got out of. So I got out of some swing trades. Notice this also took out the version point of control that I was targeting. All right, so we'll leave it there, guys. But overall, things like this up 7% today with the market flat. So again, a lot of opportunities. I felt like it was a little bit of a gift today, seeing all this momentum and some of the names that I'm covering here. So I did what I did. I did what I said I was going to do pre-market, which was sell a little bit more than I did yesterday. All right, guys, have a great night. See you tomorrow.